Hey guys, welcome to the show. Subscribe, rate, and review. We got a great episode for you tonight. Uh, I'm a lone wolf again. Alan Lee and was actually going to be here, but he got sick at the last second. And Victor Pacheco is still not having internet connections right now. But you got me, and it's Reza Riffs, baby. Anyways, we got a great show. I'll be talking to Mad TV original cast member. She was on it the most of anyone, I believe. I gotta ask her. You've also seen her in Scary Movie 4. She does voice acting and Star Wars, Avatar, countless video games. I mean, all her credits are just legendary. Two Broke Girls. Debra Wilson will be on the show. So we're going to talk to Debra Wilson, and it's going to be fun. And as always, if you like the episode, subscribe, rate, and review, and tell a friend. We need more reviews on the Apple Podcasts, so help us out. I'm also on Cameo. Book me on Cameo. And so is Debra, actually. That's how I met her. So, yeah, couple dates. I'm going to be at the Irvine Improv March 15th with Jamie Lysol. And I'm also, this episode, I believe, is coming out in March. Right now, that's the only March date confirmed. So, I got a lot of stuff pending, but, that date is definitely confirmed and on the books. All right, guys, I hope you enjoy the show, and we'll see you guys soon.
You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Hey, Debra.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good. Thank you so much for talking with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. It's all good. How
Yeah,
are you?
I'm doing good. Just I'm starting to realize that I'm getting old. You know what I mean? I'm not a young pup anymore. So like I did stand up. I did 2 shows last night, and then I had my day job early today. I'm just like, ugh.
It's hitting you, huh?
Yeah, the miles are finally coming on my body.
Well,
So I wanted to say I think this is
I got you
cool.
by a long shot, so
Yeah.
put your big girl panties on and suck it up.
Yeah. I wanted to say that this is cool because usually when I reach out for people it's on Twitter or something, but I reached out to you on Cameo, and it was so cool that you responded because I know Cameo is like one of those sites for fans, you know what I mean? And like it was just kind of hard because like not to brag, but I'm also on Cameo, so like the fact that we connected I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah. What's the most random request on Cameo you've gotten?
I've never gotten a random request.
Really?
Really?
Oh, that's cool. I get a lot of can you break up with my boyfriend request?
Yeah. You know why? Because a lot of people know me from video games or from Mad TV. So they're always requesting characters from that, or, right now it's been huge for Destiny 2, The Witch Queen, and now moving into their new expansion, The Lightfall. So I've gotten at least a year's worth of cameos as Savathun, the Witch Queen.
Yeah.
Still, and it's still coming in. It's still coming in.
Yeah. Well, that's just awesome how big those fans are, you know what I mean? So I think that's
well,
cool.
The video games are huge. I mean, Destiny, the world of Destiny, I don't know anything about, but I know that game is 20 years old. And so people have been following the lore of Destiny and immersing themselves in it, like like Dungeons and Dragons or anything that Blizzard has done. like World of Warcraft for decades. So when this being is talked about in the new expansion, they knew the lore about her, and it blew up because this is the first time they're hearing this character of Savathun, or a Sathona, and from taking her from the lore into the reality of the video game. So I had no idea how big it was going to be. I had no idea, and it was massive when it hit. Massive. I was already getting droves and droves and bombarded and overwhelmed with Savathun requests, only because the game was coming out on 2/22/22.
Yeah.
And on a Tuesday. So people were like, let's get her before the game actually releases. And I had no idea. It was like, I don't know how to keep up with this.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous, but it was really cool. And I'm still getting it to this day for various things. The expansion, people like to get roasted, roast my clan, roast this person. And so it takes time because I'm gathering personal information and I'm using it against them. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to dig into some shit with folks.
Now, I apologize because I don't really know how that it really works, but like when you do voice acting, I'm assuming now you record at home, like with COVID
No, I
and
record in the
stuff.
studio. It depends
in
on
the
what
studio?
it is. I do a show for NBC and I do a show for ABC Primetime as well. And that's from home. But I do a lot of Disney stuff in studio. I do some Nickelodeon stuff here, but I also do Nickelodeon stuff. I do Fox animation. I do that in studio. So it just depends on the project. Video games, I've done a few here. Narration, I've done a few here. I narrated a PBS documentary. I did that here. But it depends on the studio.
Yeah.
Whenever I did stuff for Cartoon Network, like Adult Swim, Cartoon Network, that was always in studio. So it depends. It all depends on your studio setup, and it all depends on the quality of sound that they're looking for particular video games, because as they record everybody's system may be wonderful. However, all of those systems aren't compatible when an engineer has to put it together and says, I hear the difference between this and this frequency, this vibration, all of these things. I can tell the difference in hertz. And so when we put it together, it doesn't feel like a conversation in the same room. So a lot of times we're doing dialogue there. Plus I do a lot of ADR and looping and scratch track. I do a lot of replacement and celebrity scratch and match stuff.
Well, I think like that's one of the things about like recording, which I think is cool, because like my uncle is also an actor, and whenever I remember he did this movie called Emperor's New Groove, and I asked him what was it like working with John Goodman, and he told me he never even worked with John Goodman, even though they were in the same movie. Like they just go in and record, you know what I mean? So I thought that was very fascinating, because I'm sure that's still how it is now.
Yes, and at the same time, depending upon the project, because I just finished working on a Blizzard project, and we had group sessions, and it was really wonderful and lovely to see some of my folks, and I always call them family members, so I always have a family reunion with them. Now that's a far and few between, and it's rarity, but it's also a blessing and a gift when you get a chance to connect with people in the same room and applaud each other for what we're doing and collaborating with each other. And yeah, it's amazing. It's an amazing experience to boost that energy that way. But for the most part, the norm has always been doing it on your own. I used to do a couple of voices on Curious George for PBS, and it was wonderful to be in a room with a number of the actors as well. So that was always a joy. And like I said, it's far and few between in general because of COVID, but it can happen.
Yeah. I guess I just assumed that like with COVID, it's now you're doing it at home instead of going to a studio.
No, because everyone's pretty much gotten for voiceover stuff and video games and everything else. People were always going into studio single in general.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for animation, but then again, you're going into studio, so you can always have people go in individually anyway. So that's still par for the course of the norm. So that was no big deal. And if you didn't have a home studio at the time when COVID first struck, then you were out of job.
Yeah.
But then everything calibrated because the voiceover industry was like, we can keep rolling. Everybody else is at a standstill, but we can keep rolling because we have projects that take us years to develop and then years to actually put together. So we don't have the time, we don't have the time for that, to shut down our production. So things kept rolling along, and it continued to gain momentum. And it just became easier to just go, let's go in studios. In fact, during COVID, when it first hit, I was doing commercials for an insurance investment company. And they were like, nope, we got one studio left open in LA. Well, we're going to keep it clean and we're just going to have you and an engineer. So they shut down the whole recording studio. And the only people that were there were no office people whatsoever. It was the engineer who had to open the door and let me in. An engineer went to his booth, an engineer went to mine, and that was it.
Yeah.
So, because the ball had to keep rolling.
Now, as an actor, like what steps do you take when you're voicing like a video game compared to like a television show? Because even though it's kind of like the same, it's also different stories.
It's not kind of like the same. It is the same.
Oh, okay.
There is the same. I mean, because all the different variables are the ones that are the common sense variables. No wardrobe, no hair, no makeup, no lighting specifically for the scene, no costumes, no set decorations, no AD, that kind of a thing.
But I'm sure there's characters that you're more like you got like that compared to characters where you have to do more focus in. You know what I mean?
No.
Oh, really?
Right. There's no difference. People have a tendency to think that it's different. It's not.
Oh.
I mean, if you're focusing on one thing and not focusing on the other, then that just goes, what kind of fucking actor are you? And so it's a matter of, it's just, it's all storytelling.
Yeah.
It's all having the ability and choosing to immerse yourself in that world and in that universe to be able to tell that story. That's what you were hired for. So you have to infuse yourself in everything, whether you're on camera or you're not on camera. It's the same difference, the same energy, the same power, the same presence, because voiceover is all here and you have to see it, and it has to be as authentic and real. In fact, it has to be more than that because you don't have anything to a buffer and support that, like more hair and makeup and wardrobe, like being on location. So you're taking all of that reality and making it as honest and transparent for yourself as possible to do the same thing, so that if you close your eyes, it wouldn't make a difference whether I'm on camera or off camera. You have to buy it. At the end of the day, you don't want to hear me. You want to feel me. Right.
I feel the presence. Now, I wanted to, before I get into the Mad TV days, I wanted to ask you, because I have a feeling that before you got on Mad TV, you did acting, and then you got on Mad TV. Like you weren't always just a comedian, right?
But acting is acting. It doesn't matter whether it's comedy. People have a tendency to think I'm not a stand-up comedian. So when you say comedy, I don't know what that means to you. So you have to explain what that means to you, so then I can translate it and give you an answer.
Okay. Well, you're right. I feel when people say comedian, it means stand-up. I feel comedian overall means also, it could mean stand-up. It also means sketch. Just anything to do to make people laugh.
I wouldn't, I don't, at this age and the way I've grown myself in and around all of this stuff, I wouldn't say I'm a comedian. I don't even really call myself an actor or a voiceover actor. But what I will say is that when I had those experiences, it was a matter of, instead of telling myself I am this thing, because now you have to be beholden to the three-dimensional world that has to agree with you in order for you to be that thing. Because if you're not working and you don't have a picture resume, you don't get an agent, you know what I'm saying? So it weighs on you psychologically and emotionally if you give yourself a title that becomes you're beholden to it, and then everybody else makes you beholden to it. Oh, really? What have you done? What have I seen you in? Oh, you're a comedian? What do you do stand up, or you do this? And it leads to all these other little pockets of this three-dimensional, lower vibrational shit. And for me, it's a matter of if I have that space, to make people laugh. My attempt is never to make you laugh. My attempt is always to be organic and real and create something that's fun for me. And if it's fun for me, then it'll be fun for you, most likely, 9 times out of 10. So for me, everything that I've created when it came to Mad TV or anything else that I've done, and yes, I have done the stand-up thing, but primarily it was I am hosting an event where it's a charity event, or hosting a comedy event for charity. So when it came to things like that, it's like, count me in. But regular stand-up, nope. And the one or the few times that I've done it, maybe twice, was because someone said, look, we want you, you're going to be with a group, and it's you guys. We just want this. And we want it to happen. We'll make it happen. We're going to set everything up. You don't have to do anything but get paid and have a good time. And then it was like, well, it's a bunch of us. And sure, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So for me, it's never been, let me write down these jokes and let me try this. It's always just been a stream of consciousness, like I do when I'm doing improv, like I do when I'm doing sketch. It's the stream of consciousness, and following that and conversing and having a good time with the audience and getting them ready for someone else who has a routine, who's been versed in it, and who changes it up and switches it up and adds new stuff to it and goes on the road and tests material. That's, to me, the epitome of what someone says, when I want to make people laugh, that's what I do. I study, I work, and I write, I find jokes, I write, set up, punch, segue, I write, all of that kind of thing. And then you have different, people who get on stage and have different stream of consciousness comedy, or what they think is funny. So for me, it was just a matter of how do I vibe and gel with the audience and tell them, the idiosyncrasies of my life and what's going on and how I feel. And it just happens to be funny to them because it's serious for me. And,
Right.
That's what I've always found interesting about comedy. The more serious you are, the funnier it is for somebody else. They laugh because it's the boldness of being able to be brash and cut yourself open to tell truths in the most honest and brutal way.
Yeah.
Because when you give yourself permission to do that to yourself, you can then start doing that to other people because they go, read me if you have to, because you've already read yourself.
But so like that's what I was saying. Like before you got on Mad TV, you did do some sort of acting, and then you went into comedy, right?
No, it's not that I went. It's all the same. So you keep trying to create this differentiation, and none of it is different. It's just this experience and that experience and this experience. Mad TV was my third experience on a television series. I had 2 television series in New York, and I'd been doing film work, and I was a spokesperson for Amana, which was their refrigerators and everything else. And I was a spokesperson for Burger King. So Mad TV was not my first outlet. I was doing sketch. I was doing improv, and I was doing theater, and I was doing television, guest star appearances, and I was doing commercials, and I was doing film in New York. I'd hit the gamut on all of those things, and I still had a city job.
Yeah. And when you were on Mad TV, when you wrote characters, like when you did impersonations of Oprah and Whitney Houston, have you ever done?
I didn't do impersonations. I did impressions, and there's a difference between the two. An impersonation is when you sound just like them. You can't tell the difference. That's an impersonation. People who go out as Barack Obama, they look like Barack Obama. People who go out as Donald Trump and they look like Donald Trump, and they make their life to look like Donald Trump because that's what they do. They go around. So those are impersonators.
Okay.
What I did and what we did on Mad TV was impressions. An impression is, here's the concept of this person. Here's the overall general idea of this person's voice, this person's look, this person's personality, this person's behavior. And now we're going to blow it the fuck up with dynamite and make it bigger. And so for me, I never did. And now I have done impersonations of and done impersonations of Oprah's voice for various television shows. Jimmy Kimmel for a number of seasons. And the last time I did Oprah was an impersonation of her as Tiana's mother for the Princess and the Frog, the video game. And now as Tiana's mother, as Oprah, voice would have it, for a new attraction that will be coming out at Disneyland in 2024.
Oh, that's cool.
So I've done that.
Yeah.
But I've also done, like I said, impressions of her when I was on Mad TV. Those were all the idea of her. What's the impression you have of Oprah? So that's why no one ever gave me backlash for it, because it was something that you would think that I get a chance to do in front of you on television. You go like, yeah, I'm thinking that, or yeah, that's possible. All those idiosyncrasies that you're thinking about that happen in news or social media, you go, yeah. And then someone goes, all right, it's our job to blow it up.
Yeah.
So doing her voice was not a far stretch from my own, like Whoopi Goldberg and Viola Davis. All three of us have that similar tone and timbre, and then I just play with my voice to get each one of them in that impression.
Yeah, that's very interesting, because you're right. I mean, I obviously didn't know the difference. I just thought it was like, doing the character to make people laugh, but I didn't realize there's a whole difference between impersonation and impression. So
Yes,
like,
because Oprah is not a character. She's a
she's a real
celebrity.
person. Yeah, yeah.
Right. She's a real person. Absolutely.
Yeah. So has anyone ever like gotten like have you ever met like, for example, Oprah, for example, and has she ever said, "Hey, you did a great job impersonating me"?
Have I met who?
Oprah, I was just giving an example.
No,
Or
I
anyone
was
you
on the
know.
red carpet with her once, and I practically shit my pants. Because Michael McDonald turned around and was like, "She does you on our show." And I was like, "Don't fucking tell her that." But I think she would not be flattered by it. I think she takes herself, there's that possibility that she takes herself a little too seriously in what she does to be poked fun at that way. Because
Right.
we really skewered her like she was a shrimp on the fucking Barbie.
That's what I was trying to say, because because I used to tour with Norm Macdonald, and when people did impersonations of him, he always like got upset about it. So
Which is interesting that a comedian gets upset about that kind of stuff, especially when most people, Norm Macdonald, as far as I'm concerned, is mild-mannered. In other words, he's not overtly offensive. He's not Jim Jeffries.
right.
He's not Bill Burr, where they push the limit. And so to do one of Norm Macdonald just to hear the voice would make me laugh my ass off. Because he has a very distinct voice. So more than anything else, it would be impressive for the accuracy and then funny for the impression itself.
Yeah. I guess his biggest thing was like he was always like, "I don't really sound like this, do I?"
Yeah, he really does. And it's like, dude, get out of your own head. Yes, you do. And everybody else thinks you do except you. So get out of your own head.
I also wanted to ask you, I heard on another podcast that you did ghost hunting. Is that
Paranormal investigation.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't really know much about that, but I thought that was very interesting. So like what got you into doing that?
I've just always been interested in the paranormal, anything that has to do with parapsychology, anything that has to do with the paranormal and parapsychology.
Yeah.
Always been interested at a young age. And I just grew into getting to know people and meet people, and from watching television shows to meeting the people in those television shows and going on investigations and meeting really cool people. It's just it's been a great life. I'm living my best life when I can, that of many things, to be able to meet and become friends with paranormal investigators and have experiences with them. It's just been awesome. Yeah.
Have you ever done an investigation where you're really, really scared, or were you just more interested in it?
I've never really been scared. I've watched phenomena happen and I find it very interesting, but my greatest fear is fear itself.
Right.
It's interesting. Winston Churchill said it, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. And I'm like, yeah, fucking right. Because my greatest fear is running and feeling like the psychology of something's going to chase you, something's going to get you, something's going to strangle you, something's going to trip you, something's going to grab you, and not knowing. So running away puts a greater abject terror into you, because you're not just running away from something. Your mind goes, you have to run because it's going to get you. It's going to do this. It's going to and you don't know. You have no control of it. You're going to feel violated by something that you can't fight back. And so it's too much in my head. So I'm not a runner of things. So when I hear things or I, experience something, I'll stand still and I'll breathe, and my heart will pound, and then I'll focus on what my heart is doing. I'll pay attention, because now I'm diverting to my body. Okay, this is what's happening. My temperature went up. And then I'm focusing on those realities instead of those other things. And at the same time, I like to debunk, not because I don't believe, but because I want to believe that it's important to begin to pull away all the things and the possibilities of the science of it all to go, well, I have no explanation for this, because I've had things happen in my apartment that have never happened before. And I've lived here for going on 11 years. And two things happened in a similar fashion. And I went, that's odd. Let me try to reproduce that. I can't reproduce that. I can't say that it's paranormal, but I have no explanation for it. So I don't just jump to, it's cool. It's a draft. It's a ghost. Like, no, you got a crack in the fucking ceiling. I hear cracks and bumps, right? Because the wood settles. And so wood, contracts and expands based on the temperature and the humidity of a place. So it's looking at all of those factors. But when I can't debunk any other factors, I go, something happened and I don't know why. Yeah. It's not physically possible, for like a magnet on a refrigerator that is attached to the refrigerator to move, especially when it's a flat magnet. And I watch it go and slide fast against the refrigerator and slide and stop. And it's like, okay, that's not possible. And not with a flat disc of a magnet. And then it happened with a ball of a magnet. And I tried to reproduce that, and I could, but not at the velocity that this magnet went down the wall. It just went on a metal wall where the heating grate was. It went. Now it had been there for 6-7 months before ever doing that. And it rolled with such a force that it couldn't be stopped. The magnet couldn't be stopped. It rolled with such a force that it rolled over to the opposite wall. It rolled on the floor and then to the opposite wall. So I tried to reproduce that, and I could, but I couldn't reproduce that at that type of rate of speed, because every time I tapped it, it would go a little, go a little, go a little. But in order for it to completely go, it had to be at a certain part of the metal where I can just tap it and it would roll. But this was high up. Yeah. And the force, you couldn't just tap it. So there had to be a force to push it down. So there was no light force. There had to be a force that actually pushed it down, because I tried it with one finger and a couple of fingers, and I tried it with, a bunch of fingers with a force, and I couldn't get it to roll and go all the way across until the magnet was lower to the ground, and then gravity kind of took it from there. But to roll from the top place where it was, couldn't explain it. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, 2:30 in the morning. So I'm not saying it was paranormal. I'm just saying that scientifically, there was no explanation for it. Yeah.
I think that's actually kind of cool, that like what you said is like how you're scared of being pulled into something where it's better to just stay put, because you're going to get pulled either way. So you want to see it happen.
Well, you don't know that you're going to get pulled.
It's
the fear of running. It's the fear of being so afraid that you have to run and get that scare. For my thing is, I'd rather, if it's, it's fight or flight, I'm fight. I'm not flight. Depending upon what it is, when in situations, in paranormal situations, for me, what if I fucking run and, like in a fucking cartoon, you step on a rake and it smacks you in the head and you knock yourself out. It's all that shit that I think about. So I'm like, don't run. I'm not a runner. I'm like, okay, let me stand still, because I need to keep my druthers, and my heartbeat is going fast. And so let me pay attention to the things that are going on physically, because now I'm distracted. I'm distracted from all that other stuff. Okay, my heart pounding, hairs on the back of my neck, not that I have much. And, it's all those things to go. And at the same time going, let's look at this logically. What could it possibly be? You heard that. What could it possibly be? You felt that. What could it possibly be? And I've had paranormal situations that were very specifically and genuinely paranormal. And for me, it was a connection to that otherworldly space within our own realm. And it was more interesting than anything else. Very fascinating for me to watch things happen, or see things happen, or feel things. And then, both my parents have passed, and my parents have come back to me and had visitations through lucid dreams from my brother. And I had moved objects, and my mother called me after she passed away. So, I mean, it's things like that where I'm like, okay, I accept that as the paranormal world, and I accept their connection to their children who they love.
I believe in that stuff too. Like, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call it ghosts, but I do believe in spirits. So I feel
same thing.
Yeah, but I don't feel they're like there to haunt you. I feel they're there to help you.
Oh, trust me, there are those that are there that are malevolent. There are plenty of malevolent ones.
Really?
Plenty. Oh, are you kidding me?
The ones I guess
I know of people who've gotten pushed, smacked, burned,
oh,
scratched. There are plenty of malevolent energies out there.
I
Plenty.
got I guess I've never like been around those kind of energies.
Good for you. That's all I'm gonna say. Good for you.
Yeah, because
Don't
like
play. I
I
don't play. I don't play with Ouija boards. I don't play with that shit. No, nah. Because people say Ouija boards just a game. No, it isn't. It
yeah
is a portal. I've experienced it once, and I went, done, never again. And that
yeah
was 45 years ago, maybe. That was either 35, 40 years ago. Yeah, somewhere between there. And I went, we're done. Black people don't do this. Black people don't do this. Don't.
yeah.
Don't. Leave it to the young white kids who are bored. It's a game. It's just a board. No. Leave it to the punk rock kids.
Yeah.
Leave it to the goth folks. Leave it to those who, that energy. They believe that energy. Leave it to, no, honey, I don't play. I don't play. I had an experience once. Once. That was it.
That's all you needed, right?
Baby, that was all she wrote.
But no, like the spirits that I've met, like my grandfather, like I feel sometimes like when I do stand up, he's there in the audience watching me and cheering me on, and same with Norm, you know what I mean? So like I feel the pause. I've never felt negative spirits. I've always felt positive spirits.
Right
So,
on.
so that was a cool thing. I wanted to, just talk about the ghost for a second. Now I wanted to ask you about your tattoos. How many tattoos do you have?
They're not individual. It's all a bodysuit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't have any individual tattoos. They're all because my whole body is covered.
Oh,
So it's all, if you'll notice, everything is sort of all together. So
yeah,
it's not like a piece, it's not like some people who'll put a piece, so they'll have that space, they'll have a piece there and a piece there, and they can say, oh, this piece is this piece. But everything for me is now all the whole body. And I'm going tomorrow to do a little bit more, and I'll cover stuff that I just tell myself it won't end. I don't know why it won't end, but all of a sudden I'll be looking at me and be, what?
yeah,
Why? And I'll find something that I want to do. And I'm like, just when I say I'm done. And last year, what I did is I said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look at every space, every nook and cranny, and I am going to cover everything now. I'm going to go, because every time I say no, I go back and do something else. I find another space. I found another artistic way of putting it on. I say, no, I want to nuance this and do that. And no, that's what I want to put. And so I said, now, because you keep telling people, oh, no, I'm done. And everyone rolls their eyes. No one believes me. And you know what? I don't blame them. I don't believe them. And so last year I said, okay, I'm going to go through everything. I'm going to make all appointments and I'm going to get everything done. I'm going to keep going back and forth and going, you know what, let's do this. You know what, let's add this. You know what, let's do this. And I'm going to find stuff on my body. I'm going to specifically look and find stuff on my body to go, all right, what about this and this and this? And I did. And I did. And I thought I was done. I went back at least 6 times and got tattooed 6 times in 1 year. And I went, all right, I'm done. And I was in the mirror, I think 2 weeks ago, and I went, shit, why did I have to look at myself in the mirror? And I saw spaces that already are tattooed, but I want to add on to the tattoo.
Yeah, but I think that's cool that you find that stuff that you really admire to put on you. You know what I mean? Because like I have 2, but it's for sentimental value. You know what I mean? And not necessarily art. So I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, and not everybody wants more tattoos. And, everyone has a tendency, people who don't have tattoos think that it's addictive. It's not addictive for everybody. But obviously with me,
Yeah.
full speed ahead till the wheels fall off. So.
Now, when you were starting to get inked, like, did like certain jobs like tell you? Because I know like starting out, when I started doing comedy, like they would always say like tattoos and piercings and stuff would like make you like not necessarily look like a comedian. You know what I mean? So like, did that ever happen to you? Like where they
But what
say,
does a comedian look like?
well, that's what I think the old school stand-up days, when I say comedian, because I know it could mean sketch, like a suit and a tie
No,
and stuff,
suit and tie.
Yeah.
Okay, we must have grown up in two different periods because I don't remember any suit and tie period.
You don't remember Bob Hope?
Well, you weren't born during Bob. Oh, shut the fuck up.
But
John
no,
remembers
like
Bob
that's
Hope?
that's
Red
that's
Button. Shut the fuck up, Keith. You weren't born during that time. Like someone says, yeah, you'll never be able to get on stage unless you're wearing a bow tie and a velvet suit. And don't forget the ruffles. Shut the fuck up. You talk about, yeah, they say that. What do you know?
Yeah.
You weren't born in that time period. Shut up. Shut up.
Honestly, I just said that to make you smile. So it was worth it.
Shut up.
And then I have two last questions for you. One, when you got the Star Wars job, like did you because I heard that there's a person who actually played it, but you voiced it. So I wanted to see like how was that?
No, that's not true. Where'd you hear that?
I heard that there was a body and then you just did the voice.
No, that is
So that was
absolutely
you
incorrect.
too.
And the reason that's incorrect is you can go on YouTube and see me do the PCAP. There is a whole world of that where it's called they did a behind the scenes film, a short film of it, and it's called, I think it's called The Cast of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Okay.
And you can see me doing the PCAP, and I've got tons of pictures online of me doing PCAP as Seer Junda. And then you can see the actual video. And that's what's beautiful about, if you go look at, I think it's called The Cast of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. And they'll show you me in PCAP, and then they'll put on a smaller screen the video game version so that you can see how it matches up, how it syncs up.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, are you kidding me? I've always done all my PCAP work. The only time I don't do my PCAP work is because Rocksteady is in the UK. So I went out to Rocksteady in the UK for them to do my facial capture and my body capture, so that when I come back here, I don't have to keep going out to the UK for Rocksteady to have to pay a shit ton of money to keep working on this game, which is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I'm Amanda Waller in that. So I do all the voice work here and somebody does the body work there. So they don't have to keep flying me back and forth. I work too much here to keep flying back and forth. And it's too much money, too much of an expense for them for me to come back every week, every other week. To fly out to the UK, it's exhausting. So of course they had somebody else do the voice, the body work for that. Yeah. But every game that I've done, other than that, it's always been me.
Okay, cool. Well, that
I don't know where you heard that from. Where did you hear that news from?
I think maybe I misread the information then. So so I'm glad that's because then the second question would make no sense. So I'm glad that was totally wrong. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
but I wanted to ask you.
In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this real quick.
Oh, okay.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Here's the cast.
Oh, that's awesome.
And for God of War, I don't know if you can see it up there.
Oh, cool.
And God of War just came out not too long ago. So that was me doing the PCAP for God of War as well. That's Gryla.
All right. Now I wanted to ask you one last Mad TV question.
Okay.
Where you were on the original show, and then I don't know if you know, but they rebooted it like 4 or 5 years.
I did guest star appearances on the reboot.
Which one did you because I thought the original was awesome, and I thought the reboot like kind of lost its magic. You know what I mean?
Because it was two different entities, and people wanted to make the comparison, and of course that show was going to fail because people wanted to make the comparison, hoping that the reboot would bring back some of the original cast members. The original cast members, a few of them came back, but that was as guest stars and doing some sketches. And they never really gave the new cast a chance because the new cast was funny and they were brilliant. And the show, Yeah, it could have been a springboard, but then again, also the network had issues with the producers. The producers had, were bumping heads with the network when to put it on. You put it on this time. Is it going to be on this day? Okay, well, people aren't watching it that time, and it didn't do well.
Yeah.
It could have, because it was honestly very funny. It was honestly very funny. Of course, it had dissimilarities, if that is such a word. I'm making it up, but there were things that were dissimilar, because we had in the original, in the infancy stage of Mad TV, we had amazing guest stars. We had 4 Academy Award winners on the show, and we had the biggest of bands, the hugest of bands,
Yeah.
and it was amazing. But when the budget changed as the show continued on and people were leaving and bringing new people in, those newer people who were coming in didn't have the same contract. So it was pay or play. In other words, if you're not on this episode, you have a small contract. And if the network felt like it wasn't working out, you were gone.
Right.
You didn't have a contract for a year or 2 years or 3 years. When I did the pilot, I had to sign a 5-year contract before the pilot.
Oh, so
when I booked the show, I had to sign a 5-year contract before even doing the pilot. So it was already set. In other words, the reason networks do that is they say, you can't go and get big and then come back here and expect to make more money. You can't say, I want to renegotiate. So when you have a 5-year deal, it's set in stone. After that, it's a whole different story. But for 5 straight years, here's what your pay is going to be. Here's what your bumps are going to be. And that is it. So don't try to negotiate, because you now got a big film. And now you're blowing up, and you think you can get out of your contract, or you come back and you're going to make more, because that ain't happening.
What if, forgive me, because I don't know anything about contracts, but what if, like, for example, it's a 5-year contract, but say like Mad TV didn't last. I know it lasted more than the 5 years, but what if it only lasted 1 year? Would you still?
No, you only get paid for that 1 year.
Oh, okay.
That 5-year contract is if it continues for 5 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not a matter of, we're going to pay you for 5 years. It's a matter of if it continues for 5 years.
Okay, cool.
And you think about it, it's sort of like with any job. You sign a contract, but if you're the one to quit, you're not getting that money.
Yeah. All right. Well, I thought, because that was the question I was going to have. Like, when you first did Mad TV, did you know it was going to be that successful? And
I don't think anybody knew it was going to be that successful. I think it was because it was a late night show. Fox had never done a late night sketch comedy show. There was no other late night sketch comedy show other than Saturday Night Live, which by that time was iconic and the one.
Yeah.
And so it was the first late night sketch comedy series, because they were always syndicating things. Fox Late Night was either a talk show, and those always went the way of the dodo bird, or it was reruns of Married with Kids.
Yeah.
Because that was Fox's first sitcom. When they produced their own stuff, Married with Children was the very first show that Fox produced. Because other than that, Fox had syndicated everything. Yeah. And Married with Children was the first primetime series that they produced. And it went gangbusters. It was huge. So they took it when it went into syndication, when it was able, because after 100 episodes, you can syndicate. And they syndicated it and put it on late night, thinking, well, we don't have a sketch comedy show to compete against Saturday Night Live, but they can watch us from 11 to 11:30 for Married with Children, and then tune in to Saturday Night Live at 11:30 p.m. So we still make our money and we still get our fans. But then when Mad TV came along, Roseanne Barr had a sketch comedy show that was late night. And they put it on the back burner because she was still finishing up with Roseanne. And in the meantime, while there was that interim break, the executive producers of In Living Color were like, we got an idea. And David Saltzman and Quincy Jones, QDE Entertainment, said, all right, let's put this together. And they put it together. They did a pilot. And then after that pilot, they spent 24 hours a day editing it to get it to the network. So the editors essentially took 8 hours. So at least 3 editors, one working 8 hours, another one working the next 16 hours, and the other one working, the final 24 hours. So that pilot was done and offline and ready to give to the network. And the network saw it and went, we got a winner. So Roseanne was like, pilot deal. And so they're like, all right, we have to air you. they aired her sketch comedy late night pilot, and it tanked.
Right.
And Mad TV was like, and what ended up happening is before she was slated to be put on, they put us on.
Right.
And then because of Roseanne's deal, we got preempted at times. It's like, oh, where's Mad TV? I was like, I know Roseanne has her. And so her deal went through. She did the pilot. People were like, where is Mad TV? Bring us back that other show. And her pilot tanked, and Mad TV had this meteoric rise after its first season.
All right. So thank God for the failures of Roseanne, right?
That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Now, Debra,
Whatever.
where can the folks at home follow and support you if you wanted to be followed and supported?
I'm not on any social media other than Cameo.
Okay, so just
That's
Cameo.
it. I'm not on any social media, but I've had people who are like, I'm not going to book a Cameo, but I want to say hi. And I respond to everybody. I respond to everybody. So, and I do conventions. I'm starting to. I'm not much of a convention person, but I've been asked lately for a lot of podcasts and a lot of conventions, only because the voiceover work that I'm doing are in huge title games.
Yeah.
So people are paying attention. And not only that, I think because my face is now associated with it, because a lot of these games now are rendering my likeness. They're using my avatar for them.
Right.
There are very few games now that don't have my likeness in them. In fact, Forspoken, which just came out a week ago, it looks like me. And the last Call of Duty, where I played Call of Duty Modern Warfare, I played General Lyons. It looks like me. And Seer Junda looks like me. And, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, the sequel, looks like me. And Wolfenstein, the new Colossus, and Wolfenstein Youngblood look like me. So, and I'm working on a huge title now, and it didn't originally look like me. It did not originally look like me at all. And they were like, you know what? You sold us, and we're going to make it look like you. So.
Oh, well, thank you so much for saying yes. I know you probably get a lot of requests, but it meant a lot to me to talk to you and learn about you and make you smile for that Bob Hope joke.
Yeah, absolutely. It was my pleasure. And, I love talking to folks who are in the business and not in the business, and just to share, because it becomes not just a comedy moment, but a human one. And that, to me, is the joy of it all.
All right. Well, I love you, Debra, very much, and have a great day.
Oh, I love you too, Keith. Bye.
Bye. All right. And that was my interview with Debra Wilson. Subscribe, rate, and review, and tell a friend, and we'll see you guys next week.
You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio.